think we're good. I think we're live. Hopefully the music's not too loud. But welcome everybody to Chris's Summer Hangout cooking stream. So my birthday is on Christmas Day, and so I don't generally get to like hang out with my friends on my birthday. So usually I do something in the summer where I hang out with my friends, or I provide, just a party of some sort. And so past few years, I just do it during sometime in the summer. Last year, we did a cooking stream for that event as well. And so I thought this year, why not do it again? So that's what we'll be doing. I've got 2 recipes for today, just like I did last year. So last year's menu was pork chili verde, which was fan favorite. And then I also did burgers cooked to order, so that one was simple. I didn't even do anything for that one on stream, I don't think. This year though, I've got 2 new recipes. So one I've made before, and another one that I'm trying for the very first time. So hopefully it goes well. We'll see. But the first one, the new one that I'm doing, is a pulled pork recipe. I've never made pulled pork by myself, or just even helped anybody. I've eaten it a lot, but that's about it. So we're going to be trying that. If you want to see any of the recipes that I'm going to be working on today, !pork or !chicken in the chat will give you the recipes. And that's the second one, is I'm going to be doing a lemon pepper chicken strip. I'm also going to be making just like frozen popcorn chicken, because the theme for today's party, whatever, is bring your own sauce. So everybody gets to bring their own types of dipping sauce or barbecue sauce, so they can put it on their pulled pork sandwiches, or there are different types of chicken strips or popcorn chicken. So, however, I don't recommend using any sauces with the lemon pepper chicken. It has its own flavor. It's very well seasoned. It's not strong, but it's definitely got its own flavor. Do whatever you want though. If you think it would taste good, go for it. I don't really think it needs it, but it's up to you. So, that being said, we're going to jump into it though. So I've got my recipes right here. So the recipe that we have for pork, I'm actually combining the recipe that's shown in the picture. If you do !pork, and then click on that link, that'll take you to Imgur, where there's just a picture of the recipe. However, that recipe is not the full thing, and I'll explain a little bit more about that when we get there. Actually, you know what? I'll just do it right now. So there's another pulled pork recipe that I found that's a lot more in-depth, and it takes like 5 to 6 hours to make. This one can be done in like 90 minutes. So, however, the longer one, you're supposed to put a dry rub on the pork shoulder overnight. And so you get a little bit more seasoning and everything in it. And so that's actually what I did. So let me grab that now. Here we go. So I got I think this is like 4 pounds of pork shoulder, and then like I said, you can see the dry rub is on it right now. I also totally forgot to bring this out. I was supposed to just let it come up to room temperature over the course of the last hour. Oops. Hopefully that doesn't cause any problems. So to give it some time to warm up a little bit, we'll go over the seasoning that I use. So I actually got 2 different seasonings because I've never made pulled pork before. And so I wasn't sure what kind of seasoning I wanted to use, so I actually ended up getting 2. I got Kinder's brown sugar with wood-fired garlic is the first one. Hopefully the camera can focus on that. Yeah, so that's the first one. And then the second one is it's just Four Brothers Premium Signature Pork Seasoning is the name of this one. So this one's probably, depending on where you live, you may not be able to find this one. This one seems to be more of a Midwest brand. They only distribute throughout the Midwest. I haven't really seen them elsewhere. So unless you live in the Midwest of the United States, you may not be able to find this one. This is the one that I actually ended up using for the pork. However, I think this is the better seasoning. And the reason for that is because this one has a much stronger, more unique flavor. And since the theme of today's party is bring your own sauce, I did not want to have a seasoning that would overpower or conflict in any way with different barbecue sauces or anything like that that people might be bringing with them. So I went for this one, which is a little bit more mild. It's not bad. It's just definitely not as strong. And it doesn't seem like there's anything in here that would be like too overpowering with other barbecue sauces. This one, oh, this one's so good. I think this one, let's see, does it actually say what's in it? Brown sugar, salt, onion, garlic, spices. Whoa, wow, thank you, spices. Paprika, apple cider vinegar. I think this one has a little bit more chili pepper in it than the Four Brothers one. So, however, both of these smell absolutely amazing. Like I said, this is the one that I went with though. I want to actually put it on the pork, so we'll go with that. Also, I'm doing dishes because I realized that I would not have enough silverware for all of my guests because it was in my dishwasher. So it's just finishing up the end of its cycle here. It's pretty warm. Okay, we'll just leave that be. We'll let it finish. So, let's take a look at the menu here. So, or the recipe, I should say. So I already got, like I said, the pork is all ready to go. And today we're going to be cooking in the Instant Pot for the pork. The chicken recipe will just be done in the oven on a baking sheet. That's totally fine. I actually borrowed a baking sheet from a friend because I'm making my homemade chicken strips, and then I've also got the frozen popcorn chicken that I'm going to be making. So I needed 2 separate sheets for both of those. Thankfully, I have good friends. So. All right, so let's take a look at this. Like I said, I've never done this one before, so it's going to be a little interesting. It's going to be explore as we go. So, on the Instant Pot, you're going to select Sauté, set it to normal. You're going to melt butter in the pot, and then we're going to sear the pork for 2 to 4 minutes on all sides, okay? Or until brown. Interesting. All right, I've seared meat in here only one time. So we'll see how this goes, because these are quite large. These are very large. I call them slabs. So I might just have to do them 1 or 2 at a time. We'll see how it goes. And I'm gonna want tongs. Also, let me know if the music is too loud, too quiet, whatever. Alright. Where's my saute button? There it is. Saute, and then just gonna set the timer, the saute timer, to like 20. We'll just do 30 minutes. It will not take us 30 minutes, but I just want to make sure that we don't have any issues where turn out. It turns off before we're done. And then I'm also going to want a plate to put the pork on after we're done searing. Here we go. Actually, we're going to have to let that heat up, but that's fine because I also need the butter. Oh, and then we're also going to need the garlic. So I did not get a chance to shred the garlic yesterday. Or shred the garlic. Peel the garlic and get it ready. So we're going to do that now, unfortunately. It's like one of my least favorite things to do. This recipe does require a lot of garlic. What is it, 11? 10. 10 cloves of garlic. So I'm just going to peel what I can here as fast as possible. It's 2. Wow, some of these are actually like really big, so we might be able to get away with using a couple less. I don't know, but let's be honest. Like, who actually puts in the amount of garlic that recipes call for? Pretty sure everybody puts in more than what it actually says. You can never have enough garlic. Alright, these are actually pretty darn big, so I'm happy with that. Because that also means it's less for me to peel. Usually they come in like such tiny little cloves that like, it's just not worth it. Yeah, here we go. Like here's a good example. So like here's an average sized one from the first one that I was working with. And here's like I can't even, and here's the size of the other ones, like the tiny ones. Like this is what they normally are, and this is what the first one was looking like. That's a huge difference. Why? I don't know. Like they came in the same exact package, which means they probably came from the same exact field. Possibly even rows. So to have that much variation between your cloves is, I guess I'd say impressive. What's up, Oblivion? All right. Well, that one just like fell apart. Jeez. Look at all of these. Like, all of those just, like, fell apart. I mean, it's good, but, like... Here we go. Okay. So... set that off to the side for now. Throw that away. And use my butter. So we need 2 tablespoons, right? Yeah, 2 tablespoons of butter. You know what? I can still use this same one for a quick second. I love that they put how much of a stick of butter is actually on here. Really nice. So there we go. 2 tablespoons. And there you go. I'm just gonna rinse this knife off quick because I think it's also what I'm going to use to cut up the garlic. If I leave the butter on there, it's literally just going to stick to the garlic the whole time. Alright, there we go. Well, it's warming up, but it's not quite ready yet. So let's go ahead and finish peeling these. Last year when I was doing the pork chili verde, I peeled all of the garlic the night before so I wouldn't have to do it on stream. It says, not much up. Get your counters cleaned off to fit a new beta tank. Ooh. How many fish do you have right now? And how big is your new tank gonna be? Come on, garlic. Please stop being a butt. Garlic is such a pain, but it's so good. You have 2 fish, and one is moving from a 3.5 gallon to a 5 gallon tank with live plants. Oh, so you're just separating them then? Is the one that's moving to the other tank like too aggressive or too big? Or like why are you putting them in different tanks? You gonna be done yet sometime soon, bud? This is still heating up. It's still not. It's not up to temperature yet. Ooh, this piece of garlic has like a rotten part or something on it. It's kind of gross. cut that off. They're in separate tanks right now. Oh, okay. But betas generally need a 5-gallon tank minimum to have a healthy life. And your first beta is in a 5-gallon already. Ah, okay. So he's getting an upgrade because it's what he needs. That's awesome. Alright. This should beep at me when it's up to temperature. But like I can stick my hand in there too just to feel for how much heat it has, and it's not quite there yet. I can feel oh, never mind. I was gonna say I can feel the heat coming off of it, but it's actually the heat coming out of my dishwasher. I don't think I want to cook my food in the dishwasher. That might not turn out or taste very good. I should also take a quick peek at the frozen chicken that I'm going to be using. Double check what the cook time on it is. So the chicken strips that I'm going to be making, I believe those have a cook time of like 15 minutes. I think the frozen chicken has a longer time. Which means when I go to bake them, I'll have to put them in at different times. The new one was in a hospital tank because he was in rough shape at the pet store. What is a hospital tank? I have never heard of a hospital fish tank. Does it look like an ambulance? Does it have flashing lights? Does it make a wee-woo sound at random intervals? Ah! Drop it. Garlic peels on the floor. There we go. Alright, I think that should be good. The rest little bit of this garlic I will need eventually. I will use some more of it for the chicken strips, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. Pretty sure this pot should be ready to go here in a little bit. So. Alright, put that knife there, should be good. Move this over there. Alright, and then let's check the rest of this here. We can get some of the other ingredients ready while we're waiting as well. So I got the 2 tablespoons of butter. I need 1 cup of chicken broth, 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, and the garlic. Okay. So I can mix the chicken broth, brown sugar, soy sauce right now. That's hot. recording devices. Where do I want to put these? Put them in there. Alright. So it was 1 cup, right? 1 cup of chicken broth. And then we've got 2 tablespoons brown sugar and 2 tablespoons soy sauce. You think this bag can fit in here? I hope so. So there were absolutely 0 like small packages of brown sugar anywhere that I could find. The smallest one I could find was 2 pounds. I need 2 tablespoons. Like, it's gonna be this corner that I'm gonna use, and that's it. All of the rest of it's still gonna be there. So that's cool. But I guess I'll just keep the brown sugar for the rest of my days inside of this container, because I don't have anything else to put it in. Ooh, hopefully this is big enough. I don't know if this is going to be big enough. I might need to grab a different one. Shoot. Hold on. We'll use this one, I guess. Thankfully, this can just go like that. Beautiful. And this is actually like pretty clean. It's like nothing stuck to it. There we go. Okay. We want 2 tablespoons of this, and it's packed, right? Packed brown sugar. I'm just gonna get all of the like large clumps broken up a little bit, so you have a better consistency throughout the whole thing. And once we do that, then we can kind of. There we go. So there's 1. There's 2. And then we'll grab our soy sauce. And that's also 2 tablespoons, right? Yes. I'm just gonna rinse my tablespoon out for now, and then let it dry because I will be using that later when we get to the chicken strips. Cool, now I have a ton of brown sugar that I don't think I will ever actually use. I don't even know where I should put this. Up here, I guess, maybe? Sure, we'll stick it there. Alright, and then the last thing that we can put in is... Oh, we also want a teaspoon of salt. Grab that. This is just regular Morton salt, nothing fancy. There we go. Alright. Ooh, that was a little loud. Alright, and now I will chop up the garlic here. Way too big of a knife. Do not use a knife this large to chop your garlic. I don't want to use the little one. Here we go. This one's much better. So we're just gonna chop this into really fine pieces. And then we'll put it in the bowl with the rest of the stuff that we just mixed together, and I'll whisk it all up into a, I don't know, soup type thing, I guess. I mean, it's a broth, is essentially what it is. I mean, it has chicken broth in it, and then soy sauce. So, but it will be the liquid base for what we will be doing with the pork shoulder. Once this comes up to temperature, it's still not quite ready. I don't know why. So right now I'm just cutting in the garlic into tiny little strips. And then once all of the large pieces are in those strips, then I'll actually go and kind of chop them all up into the smaller pieces. I do like, again, how large some of these cloves were. That I am not used to that. I did see that somebody in Europe posted a picture to Reddit. This was many months ago, but somebody in Europe posted a picture to Reddit of a garlic clove that was the whole thing, like the whole bulb, like this big, like almost the size of your hand, like, or inside of your hand. Almost the whole, or that whole thing was a single clove. There weren't like tiny ones inside of it. And they said that there's a farm that grows them, and then you can special order them. And so, if you ever have a recipe that's like single clove of garlic, well, if you really wanted to, you could just get one of those, and then you technically followed the recipe, but you used an entire bulb instead. What do we got here? No ambulance tank, sorry. Aw, that's a bummer. This took a bit to type out, but a hospital tank or quarantine tank is basically a smaller tank that is easier to care for, clean, and to be less stressful for the beta. Okay. With this beta, you had to make sure there were no parasites, fungal or bacterial issues with him since he wasn't very active and his colors were severely faded at the store. I do believe he did have a bacterial issue that was due to stress, but that's cleared up. Awesome. Coolio. Good to hear he's doing better though. And he gets to move into the grown-up cube. Grown-up tank. So that's good to hear. So we're just finishing up, finely chopping the garlic here. We're going to take all of it and plop it in our broth soup thing here. Like I said, we'll save the rest of the garlic for later, when we get to the chicken. And I also, when we get to the chicken recipe, I do it a little bit differently than what the recipe calls for. Like I said, this is one that I have made before, so I've made a couple alterations, but I'll mention those when we actually get to them. Alright, whisk. We're going to get that brown sugar all mixed up in there. It probably won't dissolve a whole lot. I'm not sure how well things dissolve into chicken broth. Stick with that for now. Alright, well, I think I just need to put the butter in there, and then we'll start this. Well, it's definitely hot enough because this butter is instantly like melting and almost boiling. Alright. So here's the plate that I'm going to put the pork on once we're done with it. And then I'll show you how big these slabs actually are. So there's 3 of these. I had a single pork shoulder and I cut it into 3 pieces, but like here's the first one. Like this, it's just massive. Alright. And, alright, so looking at it, I think I can fit 2 in here at a time. Maybe 3, we'll try it. Alright. Cool. So, supposed to do each side for 2 to 4 minutes. I wish I knew what the reasoning for that was. So right now we're just getting a sear on all of the sides. But like, when it comes to actually cooking it, because after this, you pour like the liquid base in the other stuff. And then you cook it for at least another 90 minutes. So my question though is like, what does the sear actually do at what does the sear actually do at like the molecular level that makes a difference when it comes all the way to or that makes a difference when it comes to actually eating the food. Where did I get the meat? Cashwise. Got it Cashwise. Smells good. I mean, right now it just smells like butter and pork rub. But so far, it's pretty nice. Nice. Good. Alright, so I just want to read what the next set of instructions are. So, in a small bowl, mix the broth, sugar, soy sauce, garlic, salt. Done. And then after the sears are complete, you're going to pour that over the pork. You're going to secure the lid, set the valve to sealing, and then cook on high pressure for 90. Alright. So I'm actually going to be cooking this for a little bit longer. My party doesn't start until 6. And right now it's almost 4. So, and then we probably won't actually start eating until like 6:15. So this is actually probably going to be cooking and simmering for about 2 hours instead of an hour and a half, which is good. I want it to be very flavorful, but not overpowered. Which again, it goes back to my previous statements on why I chose the more mild of the 2 pork rubs that I have. So, but I do want that flavor to be deep into the meat. And then, like I said, it's bring your own sauce, so people can put however much they want on there after it. And if they like it without the sauce, totally fine. While we're waiting for that sear, I am a do dishes as you go kitchen person, and so I try to make sure that everything is already clean by the time I am done. Because the last thing I want to do is be done cooking and then have a whole ton of dishes to do. That is not my idea of fun. You got some drummies from there that you're going to be trying to coat them in Pringles. Ooh. Yeah, where'd it go? So my breading is just Progresso breadcrumbs, plain. They do have like Italian seasoning and like a lemon pepper one. And I don't use the lemon pepper one because I don't like it. I think my lemon pepper blend is much better. But basically, you mix your dry lemon pepper and garlic seasoning and stuff all together, and then you mix it in with the Progresso breadcrumbs, and then that's what you use for the overall breading. This will be the last side that I sear on. I could try to do like the ends because they're kind of elongated. I could try to do either of the ends, but that's too much work. So the one other thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a single yellow onion to this recipe. This is no longer a 5-ingredient pulled pork, okay? Like the recipe says. It's like 7 or 8, something like that. But I'm not gonna dice the tomato, I'm not gonna chop the tomato, the onion. I'm just gonna cut it in half and then place it in the broth with the rest of the pork, so it gets the flavor. However, that means that when it comes time to actually eat it, you will not have onions in the pulled pork. You'll just have the flavor. There we go. So now it's peeled. And we're going to cut it in half width-wise. So not on the growth axis. So, and then basically you just set these either on the bottom and then put the pork on the top, or you set these on top of the pork if you have enough broth to cover the surface. And I don't think I'm going to have enough broth to cover the surface, so I'm going to put these on the bottom. First, I'm going to pour the actual liquid base in. I'm going to have enough room to do either of those options. So instead, I'm just going to place the onions in the broth as best I can. Here we go. All right. Take that off. I'm going to unplug this and move it over here off camera. So I'm just plugging it in over on the counter on the other side of my sink here, so we can work on other stuff. But just like the instructions say, I'm going to set it to set the valve to sealing. Then we're going to set to manual for 90 minutes. Actually, what time is it? 4 o'clock. I'm just going to set it for an hour and 50 minutes. Because if my party starts at 6, this has to lose pressure naturally. We will not be setting it to vent mode. We're just going to leave it in the sealing position, and then it will slowly lose pressure over time. So I think we're going to, like I said, start to eat around 6:15. So this will be, should take about 25 minutes. So if it stops at 5:50, 25 minutes later, 6:15, perfect. All right. Did I actually use this plate for anything, or did I just set an onion on it? I think I just set an onion on it. We might use that. We'll see. All right. Let's wash these dishes quick because I'm actually going to need some of them for the chicken tenders anyways. So I'm going to turn the music up. I'm not even sure if you can hear the music at all. There is music playing in the background. But I'll do the dishes. You listen to the music. I'll be back in a second. I'll wash the onion plate as well. Literally for no other reason than I'm already washing dishes. Okay, so next, by the way, so if you do !pork, you'll get the recipe for what I just used. But what you don't see is the like 8 other pages of other recipes that I was looking at, like trying to figure out on which one I wanted to use. So here's all the recipes. You're not gonna see those, but we'll just leave it there. All right, so next, chicken strips. But before that, I'm gonna go over a little bit of some of the other things that I have for today. addition to food, I've also made a couple drinks. So this one's pretty simple. Well, they're both pretty simple actually, but I did make them. I started making this one 2 days ago. But this is cold brew coffee. Comes with this thing right here, and then you fill this with all of your coffee grounds, and then you place it in here, and it just sits inside in the middle here. And you just let that sit for at least 24 hours. You also have to like stir it every now and then as well, like the grounds inside of that container. Oh, I spilled some iced tea on the floor. I just stepped it, with my socks. I don't know what socks. Yeah, so then you stir the grounds about every 6 hours or so. I just do it like 3 times within a day, but not more than that, because otherwise you have to like get up in the middle of the night, and that's just kind of stupid. But my parents got this for me for Christmas like 2 years ago. I don't even know where they got it. And I don't think it has a brand name on it. Primula is the name of the brand. Primula. Here, I'll just type that. Just kidding, I can't because I'm not logged in to Twitch right now. Oh, that's okay. Alright. I'm not logged in on this computer. I just have a laptop set up on the side over here so I can read chat. But yeah, so this is pretty cool. I like this thing. It's super simple. Like I said, you just fill this little container and you slide it in there. You stir it several times throughout the next 24 hours at least, and then you take that out and you just dump it, and the bottom actually screws off as well, so you can like actually like rinse it through. And now you have cold brew coffee. So I have some sweet creamer as well. So guests can use that whenever they want. And then iced tea over here, I just have an iced tea maker. So this thing right here, combined with this. You fill this with ice, you put water in here, and then you put your tea bags inside. Music is really loud. Then you put your tea bags inside of here, and then it just brews your tea, and it takes the water that's in here, runs it through the tea bags, and then in here. And as it pours the hot water all over the ice in here, it melts. And then also before you start that, I put in 2 cups, a lot of sugar. 2 cups of sugar, I know. But this is like a gallon about, so it's very sweet but very good. But because there's so much sugar, I don't make it very often because it's not good for you. So yeah, so those are the 2 drinks that I will have available. I also have water, and then I have tea. I have cold brew tea as well. This is a little different. I think it's just called tea infuser is what it's called. And that you just put in cold water. So these you just put in cold water and let them sit for like was it like 6 minutes, and then you're supposed to be good to go. So yeah, touch too loud? Perfect. I will turn it down. Thank you for letting me know. So there you go. But yeah, so these are really good as well. They're a little pricey though. So if you try these, I just got them at the grocery store. If you try these though, they're amazing. But I think like you only get 12. Yeah, you get 12 bags. But I think last time I checked, it was like $9.50. So it's almost $1 per bag for these. And you're only supposed to put it in, well, you get a lot of water. It's like 16 ounces of water, but I don't know. I think for me personally, the cost is like barely worth it. So, but they smell really good. They have like 4 different flavors. I only really like 2 though. I have watermelon and mint and mango and passion fruit. Those are pretty good. Alright, so now that we're done talking about all the stuff we're going to have to drink, we're going to move on to the second and last thing that we're going to be making today. And that's the lemon pepper chicken strips. So, like I said, this is a recipe that I've made tons of times before, but not in a long time. But I love this. They're super good. So this recipe technically calls for chicken tenderloins, but I do not make them with that. And so now I'm going to start going through, like I said, I've made this before, and I've made some alterations to the recipe that I made available online. I don't use chicken tenderloins, I use chicken breasts, and then I actually just cut them to about the size of what like a chicken tenderloin would be. So I find it's cheaper, and it's a little bit easier when it comes to breading, but also they're just a little bit more aesthetically pleasing if you care about that. I feel like when you use chicken tenderloins, they're very asymmetrical, and they have bits like hanging off of them, and they just have a lot of like, they're not smooth, they're very like deep and creviced, and I don't know. I just don't like the look of it. I don't really care, like it'll taste the same. But when it comes to cost and ease of use though, I think the chicken breast definitely went out on that front. So that's why I use those. So I'm gonna grab the chicken here. This knife, because the other knife I was going to use is currently what we're going to use to finish chopping up the garlics. And I want to use the chicken knife as the garlic knife. Alright, so this here is just boneless, skinless chicken breast. Like I said, super easy to use. I'm just going to grab all of them here. We only got 3, perfectly fine. Throw that away. All right. Actually, let me bring the garbage can over here. What's up, smiley face? Aesthetic is the best. You can care less though. Yeah, no. If you have kids, they might care. So if you like this recipe and you try to make it and you have kids, it might be important to them. So just keep that in mind. But like I said, it's cheaper anyway, so I would just go with the chicken breast no matter what. And when I did try it one time with actual chicken tenderloins, and I really couldn't tell a taste difference. There was a slight texture difference, but it was barely noticeable. So, I don't know. I say if you can get pretty much the exact same experience, but for less money, then go for it. Alright, so here I'm just going to cut off all of the like super fatty bits. We're not going to want those. It's just not going to work out well when it comes to breading. It doesn't seem like the breading sticks as well to the fatty bits. And then also in chicken breast there is a vein that likes to just sit in the middle, so if you can cut that out as well. So it's not too hard. There's that one done. And really, you're not going to be cutting off too much. Like, that's like less than an ounce right there. It's super small. It's, like I said, it's really just the fatty bits. There you go, that one's done. Alright, cool. That's done. Set the garbage over there. Alright, so now, like I said, I just take the chicken breast and I cut it into whatever you really want to be your actual chicken strip. So whatever looks like a chicken strip to you, that's what you're going to cut it into. So usually I start at the actual, like, the slimmer side, so the more pointy side, and I'll leave the thicker part of the chicken breast for last. But then I'll just cut at an angle. Here we go. And there you go. And so these are about as big as you want them to be. Like, they're really not that large. And it'll make for breading them easier later. The only thing that I don't like about having the smaller ones is when you go to put them on the pan when it's time to bake them, the smaller they are, the harder they are all to fit on the pan. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you don't have like a large baking sheet or something, it can be a little bit difficult to fit them all on. And then also keep in mind you don't want them to be too thick. They are supposed to be easy to eat. So if you have like giant chunks or super thick, I don't know, steaks, there we go, we'll call it super thick steaks, it's not going to work very well. And they also probably won't cook all the way through. They only go in the oven for about 15 minutes. So if you make them too thick, now you're running the risk of like salmonella or something. And then also because I'm not using chicken tenderloins and I'm cutting to whatever size I think is best as it fits into my much larger chicken breast. None of these are going to be the same shape or size, and that's totally fine. They're all going to be a little bit different. And now I run into the issue where I have one that's like too thick, but if I cut it again, it'll be like super thin. But we'll go with the super thin one. It'll be okay. Alright. What up, Mr. X? Right now, we are doing my lemon pepper chicken strips. So if you type !chicken in the chat, you'll get a link to the recipe. Really, it's just a picture of the recipe, but either way works. However, it is slightly modified. So I've already discussed about one of the differences is the recipe calls for chicken tenderloins. I don't use that. I use chicken breasts, and then I just cut them to size. It's cheaper, think it's just a little bit better overall experience when you actually go to eat them. So. For now, we're just going to set this off to the side. And then we're going to grab the rest of the dry ingredients that we're going to need for the breading. I use Progresso plain breadcrumbs. I talked about this a little bit earlier. Progresso does have a lemon pepper version of their breadcrumbs, but I don't like it. And also, I think using actual like lemon pepper seasoning and the seasonings yourself when mixing it in is a little bit better, because I don't think that the recipe calls for enough of those seasonings. I do like a little bit more of that flavor, and so I actually add a little bit more than what the recipe calls for. So, however, Progresso plain breadcrumbs, perfectly fine. I have used panko breadcrumbs before. Those are a little bit larger crumbs, and they definitely had a little bit more crunch to them, which I liked. However, they didn't stick as well. So I feel you could probably still use panko breadcrumbs. However, you would need to maybe double batter or double bread the chicken strips, or just like make sure that the liquid base is super thick, so that way when you go to put it into the dry base, it sticks a lot better. So, all right, so we got that. We're gonna grab our basil, paprika, salt, pepper, I feel like I'm missing something. Oh, my lemon pepper. Yeah, so that's another thing is this recipe does not even technically call for lemon pepper. I just use it. So, here it is. Nothing special, it's just like generic brand lemon pepper seasoning, but it works. So there we go. Do I want to use this for the dry? No, I don't want to use this. By the way, this is about a good size for your liquid base, so when we get to the liquid base, we can use this one. The dry, though, I prefer something at least this big. Because that gives you enough space to actually like mix the strips around inside of the dry, the actual breading, and then that way you can make sure you get a good even coating across the whole thing. If it's too small, you won't be able to flip it. Alright, and then a couple more things. I also, I've never found that the amount of dry breading that this recipe calls for to be enough. So this calls for a 3/4 cup. I do at least a full cup. This is still wet. There we go. So we'll just start with a full cup. If we need more later, we can add it. Problem with reusing your measuring devices is when you wash them, they never dry fast enough. So that's cool. Alright. So next we're going to do the 2 teaspoons of dried basil. That one's perfectly fine. I've never really ran into issues. I mean, I don't feel like basil adds that much flavor anyways. I think for me it's more about the visual texture. Once they're actually breaded and you cook them, you have those nice flecks of green. Looks kind of cool. So that's the same. 1 teaspoon of paprika is also totally fine. There is no modification there. Alright, then we're going to go to the salt, and that's a 1/2 teaspoon. I do about 3/4 of a teaspoon for the salt. Alright, so now we get to the pepper, and this is where I diverge the most from the recipe. So this only calls for 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. Oops, I accidentally just turned Hulu on my Roku, which was playing my music. Hold on a second. I bumped the controller as it was in my pocket. There we go. We'll set that up there for now. Alright, so the recipe only calls for 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. I think that's ridiculous. In the sense that these need to be lemon pepper chicken strips. So I do 1/4 teaspoon to a 1/2 teaspoon of actual pepper, and then I do a full teaspoon at least of lemon pepper. Which the recipe doesn't even call for, as I said earlier. I think this gives a much better zing and flavor to them. Otherwise, I did try this the original way the first time I made it. So this is a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and they're not bad with the intended what the intended recipe calls for. But I just thought they were bland. There was nothing awesome about them, and so I was like, well, what if I added lemon pepper instead? So I'm just going to do a full teaspoon of lemon pepper. And then I'll give it a little mix. And then we'll do a taste and a sniff. Just to see if it's good. I'm going to use a fork to mix this all up. Alright. We're going to add just a little bit more of the lemon pepper. If it wants to come out. Come on. There we go. Perfect. And there we go. the salt back. Should be good. And then the nice thing about breadcrumbs is they last a long time. And so, like, I still have well over half of this left, which means I can make these again in like 6 or 8 months and it'll still be just fine. So, alright, what we got next? Now we're gonna make the liquid base. So we're gonna we're gonna do the garlic first. I hate garlic. Like, I love garlic. I love the taste of garlic. I hate preparing garlic. I was planning on peeling these last night so I wouldn't have to do it live on stream, and then I forgot, and now I'm really sad because I forgot. Grab my tiny knife here. So, and I think this recipe calls for 1 garlic clove, which is also not enough. So I'm probably gonna do like at least 4. And these ones I will not be chopping up. I will actually be using my I think it's called a mincer. The thing that you put them in and then squeeze it shut, and then it like crushes them. And I'm going to do that because they need to be super fine, because they are going in a liquid base. And if they are too large, they all just sink to the bottom, and then you never actually get it to stick to the chicken when you're dipping it. And then that just means you wasted all your time prepping garlic just for it to not even be on your food, which is really silly if you ask me. So what's our pork at? Got an hour 25 on the pork. I realized after I set the timer to 150 that it doesn't count the time it takes for the Instant Pot to get up to pressure for the timer. So it might be a little over now, but I think I can actually like take some of the time off if I really wanted to. I can also just cancel the cooking if it gets too late, so that's not a problem. So, can you see my microwave clock on the screen? I don't think so. But my party starts at 6. There's an hour 24 left. So it's going to get done at 5:56. Not bad. I want it to be ready by 6:15 because that'll give the people who show up late a little extra time. But I also need to do some additional cleaning up around my house before people show up, so that'll be interesting. Alright. I think that's good enough for the garlic. So now we're going to use this bowl here. And I'm going to wash my hands, because they're all garlic sticky now. now to make the rest of the liquid base. Just gonna mince this garlic quick into the bowl. You'll notice that I'm using my nice knife to remove the garlic shavings off of this. I'm not using the blade, I'm using the back of the knife. I did have somebody comment one time, they're like, oh my gosh, you're gonna dull your blade, why are you scraping it against metal? And I'm like, it's not the sharp side, use the back. It's totally fine. It'll be okay. They were still upset after that, but I was like, whatever, I don't care. And if I did dull my blade, 1, I'm the one who did it. 2, I know how to sharpen it. So I can fix it. Alright, so this recipe also calls for egg substitute. I don't really see the point. I use real eggs. I guess egg substitute, maybe because it's easier to like accurately measure how much you want to use. I don't think you really need to be that exact. If you have liquid base when you're done, that's fine. If you have an entire bowl of liquid base when you're done, that's not fun. That you either made way too much or you did not coat your chicken well enough. So I'm going to use 4 eggs here. It's really all you need to use. That's definitely more than 1/3 egg substitute, but it's fine. Alright, and then the last ingredient, which is, oh, I love it. It's so good. It's just classic mustard. So this is nothing fancy, it's just classic French, or French's brand mustard. And we do a full tablespoon. I would say you do a little bit more than a tablespoon though, because you will have a decent amount that sticks to your measuring device. So to make sure you actually get a tablespoon into the dish, there we go. Use a little bit more. Alright, and you're going to mix it up. So right now I'm just breaking my yolks to separate them out a little bit. And now we'll mix it. So earlier I said you're going to use the mincer for the garlic, because if you just try to like dice it or finely chop it yourself, like you're not going to get them small enough, and then they'll sink to the bottom of the liquid base. That's still going to happen when you mince them. However, it takes a lot longer for them to all settle. So It's not as bad as you think. You know, I guess using an egg substitute means you also don't have to mix this as much. Right, there we go. And that is the liquid base. So, I'm looking at the time here. This is kind of unfortunate, but I can't start breading yet. So, if you bread the chicken properly, and then let it sit for too long, it'll actually just, the liquid base and the juices from the chicken will just soak through the entirety of the breading, and then you'll get this weird mushy crust thing, and it's not very good. I didn't realize that this whole process was going to go as fast as it did. I was originally planning for when I got to this point for it to be like at least 5:15. And so right now it's 4:40, so I'm like a full half hour ahead, which is, if it was just me, would be nice, but I'm live streaming and I was not prepared for this. Because I can't bread them and then cook them now, because party doesn't start for another like hour and 20 minutes. So that's not gonna be good. What do you think here? Is there anything else we can talk about that we haven't already? For those of you who have joined since the start of the stream, I'll just talk a little bit about what this is all for. So my birthday is on Christmas Day. I'm a Christmas baby, which means I can't really hang out with my friends on my birthday. So usually what I do is I just throw a party in the summer. It's not really a birthday party per se, it's more of just a hangout. But I cook a bunch of food and invite people over. But this year I actually had a theme for the meal, which is bring your own sauce. So I'm making pulled pork, that's over here on the side. We did that earlier at the start of the stream. And then I have frozen popcorn chicken. That's just kind of there. And then I also have the lemon pepper chicken strips. So I don't really recommend using any sauces with the lemon pepper chicken strips, only because they have their own good, like their own flavor. So now if you find a sauce that goes well with that, go for it. That'd be awesome. But that's why I'm making the things I am today, is pulled pork, so people can bring their own barbecue sauce or other toppings that can go along with pulled pork sandwiches. I got the buns back here, and then we've got two different types of chicken. One that I don't really recommend use sauce for, but then another one that can be paired with any sauce. It's just popcorn chicken. It's very basic. It's frozen. All right, nothing special. But that means you can use pretty much whatever you want with it. So, but that was the point of all of this. So I think I'm gonna cut it because, like I said, I can't start breading for like another half hour, and I don't have another half hour of content. So I apologize for going too fast. That was not in the plan. I'm glad that it didn't take. I'm glad I didn't go overtime though, because going overtime would be awful. Because that would mean I would still be like cooking food when people are already here, and that's not ideal. At the very least, I should have everything like in the oven and cooking, and like the timer's counting down. As long as the timer's counting down when everybody shows up, you're in the clear. That's great. But that is not what's going to happen in this scenario. So, I think I'm going to cut it though. I'm a little sad I didn't get to do actual breading on stream though. This is like probably my favorite part, is the actual breading process. Your hand gets all goopy and just covered in it, but it's super fun. And you just have your baking sheet right next to you, and you lay them all out as you go. And then you get to the end, and you just have this whole thing, and you can already smell it, by the way, at that point. The lemon pepper and the mustard will actually like, be fragrant in the air once they're all laid out. And so you can smell it before you even put it in the oven. It's super nice. It smells so good. But this recipe, with the way that I do it, will cover an entire baking sheet. Oh gosh, that was very loud, I'm sorry. But that will fill up an entire baking sheet. So when you're ready to start breading, just spray it down with some cooking oil, and then you can start breading and putting them on here. You will have a moderately difficult time trying to fit everything on here with decent spacing between all the pieces. You don't want them touching, because otherwise they'll stick together, and you might have some pieces of chicken that don't get cooked all the way through. Or you'll get like weird breading artifacts. I don't know how else to describe it, but you'll get like mushy breading. There we go. You'll get mushy breading if they're touching each other too much. So just something to keep in mind. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, breading stuff is fun. It's good. I like it. Yeah, thanks again though. If you want the recipes, go ahead and just hit !pork in the chat, and then !chicken in the chat. Either one of those, you'll get a link to the Imgur picture of the recipe itself. The pulled pork one is almost exactly what I did today. I only added one thing to it. I put a dry rub on it and then let it sit overnight. That's really the only difference. And then I did go through all of the different things for the lemon pepper. So you can go to that link and then rewatch this video and see all of the changes that I made. So hopefully I went through them quickly enough in the right order, so that way you can follow along if you want to make the same changes I did. So thanks again though. Hope you enjoyed it, and hope to see you next time. So on Sunday we'll be streaming. Will not be a cooking stream, but that's okay. We'll be back to A Plague Tale: Innocence. I think we're on chapter 13, so unlucky 13. But story's getting real good. I'm super excited to get back into that game. So it's been a week since we last played it, but I'm loving that game so far. So, and my new power supply for my computer should be coming in on Monday, which means next weekend, hopefully, no more graphics card issues due to not enough power. So we'll see. But thanks again, everybody. Hope to see you next time, but if I don't, that's fine. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and until next time, Mythic out. Have a good one, everybody. I'll see you later.